Is anybody regretting showing up here? Okay. Let me know when you're ready.
Are you going to dance again?
No.
No more dancing?
No, I'm sober. No dancing.
In that case, yeah, go ahead. We'll record it.
Okay. My name is Leonard Isham, and this is a talk on patching human vulnerabilities. It's my experience. And as of that, we're going to talk about who I am, except turn the clicker on before using it. There. This is kind of give you an idea of who I am. And I'm going to tell you right now, I love graphics, but I'm also going to tell you that means nothing to you here. Because this is what this talk is about. I was over 200 pounds, hit 220, go over that, busting out of size 40 pants, and I decided it was time to change that. So, I'm going to talk about what this is. Everybody knows what patching is, right? Fixing things, doing it. We're all imperfect. Nobody's perfect. We all have our flaws. We're all human. And we all have vulnerabilities. Some more than others. Okay, what I am not going to talk about in this. Nootropics. Basically brain hacking on the chemical level. Sex. If you guys can't figure that out, I'm sorry. There's books. There's RedTube. Look it up, dudes. And I'm not going to talk about hardware. Oops. This is not really science, because I have a sample size of 1 male, me. This is what worked for me. And your mileage may vary. I'm not a lawyer either, but that's my disclaimer. Talk a little bit about our community. We have a few tendencies that tend to be common among us hackers. One is the Impostor Syndrome. We all have things that we do that we find easy to do. And other people look at it and say, wow, that's really cool. I don't know how you do that. And you get kudos and you're sitting there thinking, but what I'm doing is really easy. And you feel like you're an imposter because somebody's telling you you're doing a great job, but you're sitting there saying, but any moron can do that. But because we're all different, what I can do easily, you may not be able to do easily. What I have in my background and my experience may set me up to do something and figure things out and understand things that you don't. And then you take the fact that security is such a broad topic. We know little bits here and a little bit there and a little bit there, but there's so much of it, we can't know it all. So we tend to have people that feel like they're an imposter. And then there's spotlight syndrome. How many of you have done something and you know every person is looking at you wondering how you could be such an idiot? You know everybody's looking at you, right? Anybody want to admit that they felt that way? Well, guess what the studies show? Less than 20% will even register what happened. And I think it's less than 5% will actually remember it the next day, let alone a week or a month later. So every time you do something and you feel embarrassed and you think everybody's looking at you, you're probably only going to get messed around with your friends who are going to remember it for a day or two and give you a hard time. And they're going to be joking because they've done stupid things too. Now, why? did I do this? Because I was the fat guy. I was the guy that had a hell of a time climbing up a set of steps without panting. I was not happy with where I was. Making money, making a living, able to buy things, but still wasn't happy. So I decided to change. And the first step in that road for me was my mind, my attitude. Because if you got a poor attitude, how are you going to get anything done? It's just not going to work. I started out by social engineering myself. And ton of books. These are a few of the books that I found to be very helpful. The Amy Cuddy, Your Body Language Shapes You, it's a TED Talk, 15, 20 minutes, that talks about body language and how that impacts you. The short version is that we are basically biochemical feedback loops. If you stand tall, your body's going to release certain chemicals, which is going to make you feel more confident and more positive. That's why you hear people say, you're doing things right, thumbs up. Stand tall, keep your chin up. The short version is up is positive. You all know when you're feeling kind of defeated, you kind of slump your shoulders, your head's down. Down is not good. Down is going to make you feel less better. Dang. Okay. Poor wording. Yeah. But down is bad in this scenario. You want to do this. And it basically creates, the more you do this, it creates the situation where you feel more confident that you can stand tall and do things that you might not do otherwise. Then you take that fact, and we all judge everybody subconsciously. You ever run into a person you see and you almost instantly like them? Or you're like, there's something that just bothers you. But you don't know, and that happens in a fraction of a second. It's called thin slicing. You make a judgment on people based on their body language, the way they're dressed, and the way they're acting subconsciously. So, if you're acting confident, people view you as confident, and they feed back to you the fact that they feel that you're confident, so you create a feedback loop with the people around you. And, oh, by the way, if anybody has any questions or anything, feel free to interrupt. I do this free form. I could give this talk 50 times and it would be different all 50 times. Though I highly doubt I would do it that many times. Attitude. Mindfulness. In this industry, we tend to have people whose minds are spinning constantly. You go outside and it's a fall day. Oh, wow, you know what? It's starting to get cooler. I'm going to have to take the boat out of the water. I'm going to have to start putting the lawn chair furniture away. All this stuff you're planning. You're not in the moment. You're not enjoying what's going on. And that can make things difficult because you're always, you could sit there and win $1 million. And you'd be sitting there thinking, well, I got to figure out how to get the money. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with the money. I got this and this and that. You're not enjoying life. You're always thinking. Your mind's always spinning. And if you can clear your mind out so that you can actually enjoy the present and be there, not be sitting there saying, okay, he or she is saying something. What am I going to say in return? And your mind's buzzing. And people can tell that. And so, but to get to mindfulness, there's a few different ways you can do. The main thing that you're looking at doing is called meditation. It is not an easy thing. like learning to computer. You don't just pick up a computer and know how to use it and understand all the different basics. You don't do meditation and all of a sudden your mind is blank the first time you try it. It's a process. It takes time. First time you do it, you're going to be like going, Jesus Christ, I really screwed that up. No, you didn't. You started the practice. And over time, it will get easier. Now, since we love to hack things, there are some things that will help. It is called they're called binaural beats. Basically, you end up with a headphone. You have to have stereo headphones. And what it will do, it will play random noises, but the frequency will be offset between your two ears. And what happens is that helps your mind settle into a calm, restful state. Literally, the first time I tried binaural beats, it relaxed me so much that I fell asleep. And when it was done, I woke up and I'm like going, wow, what the hell happened? Because at that time, I was a raging insomniac. I'd sleep 2-3 hours a night for weeks on a time, always tired. And I did this and it put me to sleep and I'm like, wow. And it's helped me be more present, be calm. I use it for meditating all the time. Now, I'm not as good as I should be. Motivation. When I reached the stage where I was going to lose weight, I was going to be in condition roughly like I am right now. I needed strong motivation. I needed something that was always there. I placed a bet. I placed a significant dollar bet that by April 15th, tax day, I would reach my goal weight, or I would pay a significant amount of money to charity. The fact was, this was enough money, I didn't want to lose it. The second fact was, it was enough money if I had to pay it to charity, I would not be able to pay my taxes. And I knew I was going to owe money. So, when I started doing this and losing weight, God, that cake smells great. Oh my God, you know how long it's been since I've eaten at that restaurant. It smells wonderful. No, I don't want to lose the money. I can't lose the money. I was always had that on my mind. And with that, I went from 212 pounds down to 160 in 3 months. And I didn't do it by not eating anything at all. I tried a few things. I tried several things. With diet, the first thing that I did was I tried the whole 30. Short version, 30 days where you do not eat any milk-based products, no grains, no legumes, no sugars. But you eat as much as you want. I lost 22 pounds in that first 30 days. And I was not ever hungry. When I was hungry, I ate. It's just, I basically got rid of almost all carbs. And after that, I kind of stalled out. So I played around with several different things. I tried a few weeks of going reduced calorie. That doesn't work well because you actually lose fat and muscle. I ended up doing the bulletproof diet. Short version, guy goes by the name of Bulletproof Exec. It's a paleo-style diet that is very high in fat. And I did that. I did some more research, And he's got an intermittent fasting version. Intermittent fasting is you limit the time periods where you take food in. In this particular case, I would not eat any food except for an 8 to 10 hour window each day. And I would eat a paleo diet during that time period, high in fat. The one exception with that was bulletproof coffee, which I will talk about in a minute. And I also tried his rapid fat loss protocol, which is basically all fat, mainly butter, and supplements. Couldn't do that more than 3 days in a row. Drove me nuts. And okay, I don't have it here. Something's out of order. Okay, bulletproof coffee is coffee mixed with usually grass-fed unsalted butter and MCT oil. There's different variations of it. The variation I tend to do includes a couple of raw eggs, and it's about 1,200 calories. And I will have that for breakfast and not eat anything till around 2 o'clock. And I'm not hungry. So you get the benefits of the fasting without the feeling like dog shit. Of course, you're going to do anything like this, you got to exercise. It doesn't make any sense not to. I started out doing CrossFit. Now, for better or for worse, CrossFit is a craze. A lot of people are doing it. And because of the number of people doing it, you are having people that are running into some difficulty. I'm not going to go into detail on this, but this is basically a scenario where you continuously overwork yourself and you end up with severe symptoms that will put you in the hospital. I don't believe anybody's died from this, but it is something that if you're going to do CrossFit, you should be aware of and pay attention to. And, I mean, there's jokes about the CrossFitters. It's like, yeah, how many pull-ups does a CrossFitter do? None. They just flail around on the bar. Because a lot of times they're not doing and using good form. I took some Krav Maga. It's very good for your core muscles. It's also very good for your confidence. In short, it's a very easy to learn, efficient method of self-defense. And the whole idea behind it is if there is a threat, you get away from that threat, or you put that threat in a position where there no longer can be a threat. If they're limping, you can run away. If you knock them down, you can get out of there and leave. And I was doing the Krav Maga and CrossFit at the same time. And then I ran across this book and I started doing the strength training in this book. Now, and here's another thing on the social engineering side. Engineering the alpha. What guy doesn't want to be the alpha? That's why you see things like that when it comes to diet and exercise. I was doing about 6 hours of strength training a week with this, and up to 5 hours of Krav Maga. I did this for about a month before I became totally burnt out. I was exhausted. So I looked for an easier way to do this. I found Body by Science. The Big 5 workouts. In short, in 15 to 20 minutes a week, you can actually get a very efficient workout. It is not fast pace. It uses what's called time under tension. If you're doing push-ups, for an example, with this, you're going to do a count of 6 to 10 as you push up, slowly, keeping your tension on the muscles. When you reach the top, you're going to pause for a count of 2, and then you're going to do the same count of 6 to 10 on the way down. And what you're doing, instead of pumping through it fast, where you get the initial bounce, and then your body's flopping up, and when you go down, you slam down, you're not using your muscles all that time. By doing time under tension, you are actually engaging the muscles the entire rep. And this is based on the fact that we have 3 types of muscles: fast twitch, medium twitch, and slow twitch. Fast twitch are the ones that are going to engage first. And your body's always going to try to use the least amount of energy and muscle necessary to get the job done, because you don't know what's going to come next. And back in the old days, if you burnt out, went for a run and you burnt out all your energy and then a lion showed up, you're screwed. So your body says, okay, I'm going to keep reserves. And by doing this in 45 to a minute and a half, you can actually deplete all the energy in those 3 muscles. And they recharge at different rates. So basically, there's a huge psychological barrier to actually going all the way to failure. Because your body doesn't want to do that, because your body says, I never want to use everything because who knows what's next. Good news is we're probably not going to run into a lion working out. So, once you reach that point, you go there and you reach the end, you're exhausted. It takes you a minute before you can actually get up and walk around or use your arms when you're doing this. And then you take a week to recover, because your body needs time to recover, needs time to recharge. What happens is those muscles need to build up their stores of energy. So it's going to take the energy back in. You will, if you're on the right diet, it will actually start taking the fat that you have and processing that for energy. Because when you're doing a paleo or a keto style diet, you can actually push your body into what's known as ketosis. Short version is you burn fat for energy rather than carbs. And by burning the fat, you're going to reduce the fat you have on your body. And also, if you get it up to a high enough level, when you urinate, you will get rid of some of that fat. It's scientifically proven. Now, sorry. I take supplements. I take a lot of supplements. I feel better than I have in the years prior. I've had 2 sore throats in the last 2 years since I started doing this, and they both lasted a day or 2. And here's the bulletproof coffee. I messed up on the order there. But in the morning, I usually have my bulletproof coffee. Gets me energized, gets me going, drink it on the way to work, and start the day. I also take vitamin C. I take a lot of vitamin C. That's one of the things I believe helps me from getting sick. I've never had con flu. And I go to quite a few conferences. I'm a con rat. And I take krill oil, which tends to be very efficiently utilized by your brain. So that helps me get started with the brain going and everything else flowing. And then, I'm not going to go through and list all these because this is what I take on a daily basis. Now, you got the vitamin C. I take a lot of vitamin D because most of us don't spend enough time out in the sun, especially in this profession, to get much vitamin D. And vitamin D is it's used in a lot of different processes in your body. Take vitamin K2. Iodine I take because I don't eat normal table salt, except for rarely. I do sea salt, which has trace minerals. And because of that, I take iodine as a supplement because I don't get it the way most of you do when you're eating salt. I take some vitamin A, the selenium, copper, B12, and at night I take magnesium and potassium and some whey isolate. This, according to the information I have, is supposed to help you sleep. And I nowadays usually sleep about 4.5 to 6 hours a night, usually more like 4.5 to 5, and I'm not tired during the day. So I get nearly a 20-hour day where I can get things done. Now, one thing I've learned in this is our bodies want a level playing field. Our bodies will adapt to anything we do. I have adapted to doing the bulletproof fasting, intermittent diet so well that I can't use that if I want to change my body composition. The exercises are now no longer very effective for me. And I measure that based on my body composition and how things are. When I initially lost the weight, I wore skinny jeans. And I had room in them. They weren't form-fitting. As I worked out, I ended up having to switch to slim fit because I don't like jeans that are form-fitting on me. And I'm currently wearing regular, and when I wash these and I first put them on, they're tight in the thighs. But they relax, and it's not fat. It's muscle that I've built on there. And the more muscle you have, the more energy you can burn doing nothing, because you've got to support the muscles. So that is something that you run into that you have to change. I am planning on going on to a new diet and a new workout regimen come Monday. I don't know what the results are going to be. I know that I'm going to have to figure out what works for me and tailor it to me. I'm going to be trying what's known as the Apex Predator diet, which is a lot of protein, fat, as well as periodic carb days. And I've not decided on the exercise routine as of yet. It's going to be strength training because I truly believe strength training is the way to go. And I will also continue to do one thing that I've started about 2 months ago. I go for walks, and I've decided I limit them to 1 hour with a weight vest. I started out with 20 pounds, and it wasn't easy. I keep adding weight to it. The last walk I went on was with a 54-pound weight vest. And in that hour, I walked a little over 3 miles. I'm running at about 20 minutes to the mile. And I vary the terrain that I go over. Where I live, there are some hills, not huge hills. And so I changed the route that I walk because of the fact that I found that if I walked the same route every day, my body adjusted to it and it was easier and I wasn't getting the results I wanted out of it. Now, I recently switched from wearing tennis shoes to wearing hiking boots to support my ankles. And when I do that walk the next day, my legs hurt. I am sore. My feet hurt.
When you first started this and you were working on everything, did you have issues with your knees because of your weight or your age? Not that you're an old guy, but
I understand.
I know you had to put the gray in so you look wash a little bit in there.
Yeah, it's just my thing. But no, I did not have any problems with my knees. I do have an ankle problem, but that was caused by using Eastern skiing techniques in the West, which is in the East, if you ski, it's usually ice, so you dig the edges in. When you're out West, it's powder. If you dig the edges in, you do things like flipping down the hill, which I did. The third time I hit, I stuck and broke my ankle. So now I have a nice little titanium plate and 9 screws in my ankle, which does cut down on my mobility a little bit. So if you have problems with knees, you're going to want to strengthen it before you try doing anything like doing, a weight vest. And I don't know if, I'm assuming that you have some issues with knees.
I started running like a year and a half ago when I first started to run.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
This is a good thing.
We just got ice.
When I first started to run, I had issues with knees and were braces. But as I ran, that issue went away. I didn't have any more pain or anything like that. It wasn't that I lost significant weight, but
You built up the strength.
built up the strength. So anyone who's got that kind of issue, I don't know if you experienced the same thing.
No, I did not. I've never had problems with my knees. I had problems with doing things like walking up steps. Oh, well, here goes. All bets are off at conferences. All bets are off. So, anybody have any questions? I'm going to give you a little bit of extra time if you don't.
How much do you meditate?
I go off and on periodically, depending on what I've got going on. When I'm on it, I will meditate for a full hour. And
Do you sleep differently when you're meditating?
not that I really find. My sleep, I used to be a horrible insomniac. I'm talking 2 to 4 hours a night would be the most I would sleep. And this would go on for months at a time. And I was always exhausted the next day. I was constantly on caffeine. I was a caffeine fiend. I literally, my worst caffeine day, 4 Monsters, 2 5-hour energy, and about a half a dozen vodka Red Bull at the bar that night. I was literally told that they had 911 ready because they figured I was going to have a heart attack. Obviously, I survived. No heart attack. But I was a caffeine fiend. And by doing this, I still take caffeine. I have experimented with taking, caffeine for workouts and things such as that. I don't generally take it for that because I'm fairly well adapted to caffeine. So my coffee and some tea is usually where I get all my caffeine. And I don't take that much anymore.
So you say you sleep 4 to 5 hours a night. Is
Yes.
that something you've always done, or is that something as a result of magnesium and other things?
I attribute it to the magnesium and that because I sleep that amount of time and I wake up refreshed and I'm not tired. And
If I close my eyes and fall asleep, I sleep for 8 hours, and it doesn't matter whether I wake up in the middle, I'll turn the alarm clock off and go back to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to sleep at 5 a.m., guess what? I'm coming into the office late. But
I understand. Yeah, I find What I did was, it's no longer available, but there was an alarm clock called the Zeos that actually has a sensor, and you strap it on your forehead, and it will track your sleep patterns, whether you're in deep sleep, whether you're in REM. I do REM for about half an hour, 45 minutes, and deep sleep is about an hour to an hour and 15. And that's consistent. It's also partially how much you've got going on. If you're depressed or if you're bored, you don't really have the motivation to get up. If you got things going on and you're happy and you're like, okay, I'm going to get up, I got to go to work, I'm going to do this, I got this. You know, you can, part of it's psychological, in my opinion, and part of it's how well you actually sleep when you go to sleep. I mean, if you have sleep apnea, you're going to have problems. But I do believe that a fair number of people reduce or eliminate sleep apnea by reducing their weight.
Yeah, I think that's actually, as I gained weight, I began to snore louder and louder.
Oh, I could wake up a whole house snoring back in the day. Anybody else?
You mentioned meditate for an hour at a time. For folks getting started, that might seem a little...
Oh, yes. I would not recommend you try doing that. If you want to get started, there is it's called Headspace. If you go to getheadspace.com, you can get a 10-day for free, which will get you started in it. It's got materials on it, and I believe the first 10 days, it's 10 minutes. And it literally goes through, and it's really like, no, you are not failing because you cannot blink your mind. This takes time. And you get talked through it. And it goes through it. You can put an app on your phone, Android or iPhone, that you can use to do this. And so it's, you don't want to go jumping in trying to do an hour. Because, that's like deciding you're going to go strength train and you're going to work out for an hour. Yeah, if you've never done it before, you're not going to make it an hour unless you're not really training. Any other questions? Yes? Can you talk a little bit louder, please? I did for a few weeks a reduced calorie, and I found that was I wasn't happy with the way I was feeling, tired, exhausted, and I started doing the bulletproof diet, which is high in fat, which tends to keep your body in ketosis, which I found to be very, very helpful. Now, when I tried the rapid fat loss, I found that I could drop back then, when I first tried it, I could drop 10 pounds of fat in 2 days. Nowadays, if I try it, it's like, nah, my body's like, screw you, I've done this shit before, we don't have a problem, we're just going to hang here. No, I've never gotten muscle cramps. Yeah, no, I never had any muscle cramps. When you change your diet, your body's going to crave things that you used to have. It takes some time. If you do like the Whole30, they have a forum. They talk about different issues you can have. You can have very severe gas issues when you first do this because your gut flora is used to all this sugar and all this. So basically what will happen, to my understanding, is some of your gut flora will die off and others will prosper, but that can give you severe gas. So this is something that you want to be aware of because you don't want to be the hated person in the office. It's like, son of a bitch, here's a donut. I don't want to smell that shit.
How important is hydration?
I'm sorry?
How important is hydration?
Oh, I drink a lot of water. I mentioned that I tend to do sea salt. The sea salt that I tend to prefer is pink Himalayan salt. It was actually put down well before we started dumping all the shit in the ocean. So it's got a lot of trace minerals. And as I hydrate through the day, I will tend to, at least every other one, I will add a pinch of sea salt to it. Because that is sort of a natural Gatorade. You get your electrolytes that way.
I had someone give me a glass of alkaline water, something where the pH balance could shift towards the alkaline side.
What I know about that, and I've not done a lot of research, it seems to be smoke and mirrors. Doesn't seem to be effective, but I may be wrong. Based on what little bit I've done, and I might come back and circle back and check more into that and decide, hey, you know what? That's one of the things I need to try, and maybe it'll work. But at this stage, I haven't done it, and it's not on my radar.
It didn't taste any different really to me. Kind of normal tap water, or filtered water rather. But it's like, oh, it helps the absorption. I'm like, you bought a machine to do this, didn't you? Someone sold me this piece of equipment, didn't they? Which is probably the case. But
Yeah, well, it's usually equipment or you get special deliveries from what I've heard.
oh, there you go.
So somebody's making money off of it.
I ended up cutting out Diet Cokes and Coke Zero, and I keep a gallon jug next to my desk full of water. And I'll drink probably a half gallon to a full gallon of water a day.
I try to go with non-GMO food. As far as like with beef, if you can get grass-fed, it actually tastes better. Literally. And in my opinion, it's better for you. I make stuff with this for my family, my parents, my sister. Everybody's like, this is really good meat. It's a little bit more expensive. I'll grant that. I don't go for low-fat cuts. Except if it's factory farm stuff, I try to go for low-fat content. Because when they're in the factory farm, they're pumping them full of antibiotics. Because if one of them gets sick, you can lose the whole herd. And they're pumping them through all this stuff, which gets stored, which is fat soluble, and gets stored in the fat. So I really don't want to eat that crap. If it's grass-fed, give me all the fat you got. Any other questions? Okay, well, I hope you found it informative, helpful. Thank you.
Get the hell out.